Welcome to another episode of Washington in Focus. I'm your host, Carlene Johnson, Washington State government reporter for the Center Square. And with me today is TJ Martinell, Washington State's Center Square investigative reporter. Wrote an article this week that kind of brought some more attention to the production of a video made by the Office of Attorney General Nick Brown. And for folks who maybe you're on social media often, maybe you've seen some of the posts from AG Brown's office or commented on those. A lot of folks post some very colorful comments, and the AG recently thought it appropriate to sort of make a response video to some of those mocking social media posts. And TJ has uncovered some information about how all that came to be. So TJ, unpack this for us, and then you can kind of share with some of the colorful comments in the video.
Yeah, so this was late August, early September. Nick Brown decided to make a video reading social media posts, which he calls mean tweets, and then commenting on them. And this is something he was directly involved in. He was communicating about it with his staff. He had his communications staff work on it and gather the social media posts and all that lovely stuff. I think we need to keep this all in mind while we go down this rabbit hole. This is the sitting attorney general for the state of Washington. And this is what he's spending his time on, is making a 4-minute video reading social media posts of critical of him. And this is after a state bar complaint investigation was officially launched into him. I've covered this extensively, so you can all go to our website, centersquare.com/Washington, and go over that. But this is what he's doing while this is going on. So I think the other thing that that struck me while reading this and watching the videos and going through the records is using the term mean tweets, using the word mean. I'm sorry, but as a guy, you stop using the word mean to describe somebody saying something to you when you're in like junior high.
I was going to say seventh grade. Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's like you go to a recess teacher and say, Timmy goes up to the recess teacher and says, Tommy's being mean to me. And they say, well, figure it out. Like we don't, this is not a word. This is not a word that this is not a word a grown man should be using to describe criticism of him, right? This is there was one of the social media posts said he sounded like a high school girl, and my response or my thought on that is actually it's more like junior high, if not middle school.
It's important, TJ, that, like you say, this was produced taxpayer time, taxpayer resources, right? And you got public records that documented all the internal communications about this. Was funny. Reference the laugh track discussion.
Yeah, so there was a discussion about whether to have a laugh track in this video, and Nick Brown really wanted it, and his chief of staff said, this is kind of distracting. And Nick Brown responded, it reminds me of late talk show hosts. And his chief of staff says, yeah, but they have an audience. And maybe I'm reading too much into the chief of staff's email, but notice there was no emoji or him being funny. I think that this guy was probably thinking to himself, why are we doing this? Out of all the things that we could be doing.
Right. And important to note, and you already referenced it, this was happening at a time when his office is under investigation. He was under a Washington State Bar Association complaint, which was subsequently closed, coincidentally the same day that you inquired about it, or within hours of your inquiry. So he was under very serious investigation, ethics complaint, lots of concerns there. And meantime, his effort and energy is on producing a video that were mocking some people that probably felt they were making very legitimate complaints against the way he's running the office.
I think that's there's a couple of issues. One, it's a elected official mocking his constituents, but he's also the state's top attorney. he legally represents the people of Washington. So this is a lawyer potentially mocking his own clients. Right. Because some of these people, I presume, live in Washington state. And so it's really a question of, you're a lawyer. I don't think you should be doing people would argue you shouldn't be doing this online. But on top of this, he's got dozens of lawsuits filed against the Trump administration. He's got his office is one of the largest in the country in terms of staff. His office has over 1,000 active contracts with outside law firms. So clearly they've got a lot going on. What exactly does he do during his day? Like, what does his day look like where he's able to make, and also, why are you scouring the internet looking for people making complaints about you? I post stuff on social media. Sometimes stuff will go, get a lot of comments. I don't read the comments because I really don't care. Is somebody with an anonymous account that has some weird name and says something really random or incredibly critical? I don't care what some random person says online. And even if I post an article, like, there's some people who will say things that are incredibly ignorant. I really don't care. I don't even bother to respond. So why is he so interested in what random people, and I don't think a lot of these people even use the real names. They're just anonymous accounts. Why are you so hung up on this?
And on top of that, it certainly did seem as if it was sort of a deflection, redirection as to, what the serious issues were of the day.
Well, and here's the other thing. I think more people laughed reading my article about the video than actually laughed at the video. Because what's the joke? Like, how is this funny? It's not just using taxpayer dollars. Like, it would have probably been more entertaining for him to do a live streaming video of him playing Command & Conquer Red Alert or some classic 1990s PC game and just making random comments. Like, if you're going to do a video, get everybody together and film your guys playing GoldenEye 64 slappers only, or something that might be funny or we can laugh at. But reading these tweets and making kind of sarcastic or what would we call it? Snarky remarks. What's the joke? Aside from these taxpayer dollars, it's not even. I'm watching it. It's just like, I understand why he wants the laugh track in there.
Well, and the fact that it went on for more than 4 minutes, it's one thing to post like a 30-second little funny thing on YouTube with the AG, and maybe if it had been more self-deprecating, right? Making fun of himself, like, I get you're not pleased with everything. I'm going to work harder, whatever, something like that, some acknowledgement, but rather to be dismissive and insulting, right?
But that's kind of the point of, like, people would point out, well, what about Donald Trump? Donald Trump actually, this isn't political. This is not getting into politics, but he can self-deprecate. He does do goofy dances to the YMCA. He pretended to be a McDonald's waiter or whatever.
Driving the garbage truck. Yeah.
He drove he does funny things, and he doesn't take himself seriously in that regard. And then you got guys like JD Vance posting his Halloween costume, which was a feat. It was based off of a meme people made of him. And then they were trying to make fun of him for it. And he just agreed and amplified. That's funny. And what's also funny and ironic is one of the tweets Nick Brown read said, "When are you going to do your job?" And it's like, Attorney General Brown, you are reading a post, you are taking time to do something that has nothing to do with your job as Attorney General, reading a social media post asking you when you are going to do your job and thinking that you're making fun of it. You're kind of proving the point of the social media post that you're mocking. That's 100%. Critical.
I think
just proving your point. So again, if you want to make fun, but the problem is here's the other thing. His job is he's got a serious job as Attorney General. And so there's not a whole lot that's funny about the stuff that he does. And politicians aren't supposed to be comedians. They're not there to entertain us. There's a lot of jobs where you do kind of serious work. Now, granted, there's other social media accounts for government agencies like the Washington State Department of Transportation. They occasionally post stuff that's being funny, but it's not at the expense of anybody. They're just being trying to just make their posts a little bit more interesting. And then there's the city of Kent. I don't know if the person's still running it, but their X account years ago was hilarious. They said really funny stuff, but they're also providing information. So you're the attorney general. You might want to just stick to talking about the work that you're doing and how that's affecting Washington State, and and also not being terribly interested in what random people online have to say. You should be more concerned with what people like, I don't know, the State Bar Association had to say about that complaint that your office told me was meritless. And yet, as we're going to find out, or we found out recently, they put a lot of time and effort into the response. So clearly there was merit to it.
And you reached back out to them for any comment on the video, to WSBA. I don't know. Did they give you?
Yeah, I asked them. They didn't say anything. They did say we can't comment on it because it would violate our rules. Like, basically they're saying it's a private investigation, except I got records just recently, and there's going to be a story coming out about this where I know how this investigation went down because it wasn't private. It was subject to public disclosure, and it was subject to public disclosure because they were communicating with the Attorney General's office, thus making the investigation public and creating public records for it. So they can claim that it was private and they can't talk to me about it. And they also said, well, there was no discipline filed against Brown. And I go, yeah, that's kind of what I was inquiring about. Is he's in the middle of a State Bar Association investigation, and he's making videos mocking potentially his own clients. So do you not have any comment about that? Like, does that violate any professionalism on a part of a lawyer? I don't fully know or am aware of the full code, but they didn't comment on it. And then I gave them a follow-up response and they didn't say anything. So it's really a question of another example of where, with this whole thing, Brown used taxpayer dollars to defend a private law firm's continuous access to federal contracts. They used public taxpayer dollars to defend him in a state bar complaint. And now he's doing videos using taxpayer dollars to mock people who pay his salary. So
is that legal? Can he be? I mean, I guess he could say it's in promotion of the office. Was it a gray area?
I mean, I would ask the state ethics board if they weren't run by the Solicitor General of the Attorney General's office. I mean, I would ask them. I've reached out. No, you can't. Like, if we're going to talk about something that's funny, it's the fact that we can't ask anybody about whether this violated anything, because the answer ultimately to Noah Purcell, who's the Solicitor General and is a subordinate of Nick Brown. So if there's a joke, it's the fact that the people who would hold him accountable are answer to him ultimately.
And we're finding that in so many stories that both you and I have been reporting on lately, right? I mean, who's ultimately responsible? The people responsible are going to maybe give a pass in many situations because this is all part of a grander plan. But I digress. But I hope folks will go to your article at thecentersquare.com/Washington. There's a link to the video, and it's worth a couple of minutes of your time, even so you can kind of understand the tone of it, because I think you hit the nail on the head where I get that, politicians, state agency officials are trying to utilize social media and be relatable, right? Or they know that many of their constituents are only digesting news from social media, right? What did I hear this week? That I think it's like 70% of people under the age of 25 get their news off TikTok, which is a little scary. But so I think they understand.
Why it's not funny? That's scary. That is truly scary.
That is terrifying. But I mean, I get that they're trying to utilize that resource, but I think this one might have flopped because there was nothing self-deprecating about it. It came across as very insulting of the very people that were, making those mean comments to the AG. So I encourage folks seeing this to read your article at thecentersquare.com/Washington. I know there's more to come. You've been all over covering the Attorney General's office and your insistence on some transparency. I know you're not giving up on that. So thank you, TJ Martinell. And along with TJ, this has been another episode of Washington in Focus. I'm your host today, Carlene Johnson. Thanks for watching.